One of the loneliest feelings is not having no one around you. It is being around people and realizing no one is really looking for you. You are sitting close enough to hear the laughter before it reaches you. You smile when everyone smiles. You nod when someone is speaking. From the outside, it looks like you are part of the moment. But inside, something in you is standing a few steps behind it, watching everyone belong without you. There's a circle happening right in front of you. And somehow, you are still outside of it. Not rejected loudly, not ignored completely, just not chosen. And sometimes that hurts more because clear rejection gives you an answer, but almost being included gives you questions. Did they invite me because they wanted me here or because it would have been awkward not to? Did they laugh because I was funny or because they were being polite? Do they actually like me? Or am I just someone they do not mind having around? That is the quiet pain of struggling to make friends. It is not always sitting alone in your room. Sometimes it is sitting beside people and still feeling like there is no clear place for you. You watch how easily others enter conversations, how naturally they become part of someone's everyday life. They seem to know when to joke, when to interrupt, when to ask personal questions, and when to become familiar. And you are there, trying to understand the rules everyone else seems to know without being taught. You may not hate people. You may not even dislike socializing. In fact, you may want connection more than people realize. But wanting connection and feeling safe inside connection are two different things. And that is where the wound begins. Because for you, friendship does not always feel light. It can feel like standing at the edge of something you want badly, while trying not to look like you want it too much. So you stay careful, you stay polite, you leave a little space between yourself and everyone else, just enough space to survive not being chosen, and then people think you are quiet, or hard to know, or uninterested, but they do not see what is happening underneath. They do not see how much you notice, how much you replay, how often you wonder whether there is room for you in someone else's life. If this feels familiar, leave a dot in the comments, because some people do not struggle to make friends because they are cold. They struggle because belonging has never felt simple. You can be in the room and still feel like you are standing outside of it. And once you have felt that enough times, friendship stops feeling like something you enter. It starts feeling like something you have to survive. That is why, for some people, friendship never feels like something that simply happens. For others, connection unfolds without suspicion. A conversation becomes another conversation. A message becomes a plan. Soon, they are inside each other's lives without wondering whether they were allowed in. But for you, every step toward closeness can carry a question underneath it. Do they really want me here? What if I care more than they do? What if I need them and they do not need me back? This is why making friends can feel exhausting. You may be speaking normally on the outside, but inside, another part of you is watching the room. The pause before an answer, the small shift in someone's face, the silence after you say something a little too honest. You are trying to understand whether the door is open or whether you are standing in front of something that only looks like an invitation. And if you have felt unwanted before, this makes sense. Rejection does not always stay in memory. Sometimes it becomes a way of watching for the ending before it arrives. Maybe you were the friend people liked, but not the friend they chose first. Maybe you opened up once, then spent the rest of the night wishing you could take the words back. Maybe you learned that being yourself did not always bring people closer. Sometimes it made them step back. So now, even kindness can feel suspicious. Not because you are ungrateful, but because part of you is trying to verify whether it is real. That is the twist most people do not understand. When you have been unwanted before, kindness does not always feel like comfort. Sometimes it feels like evidence you are afraid to trust. A friendly tone can make you wonder if their warmth belongs to you or if they give it to everyone. A late reply can become an entire story. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I was annoying. Maybe I misunderstood how close we were. This is not weakness. This is what happens when connection has been mixed with uncertainty for too long. The nervous system starts treating closeness like something that could disappear at any moment. So friendship stops feeling like a warm place to enter. It starts feeling like a place where you have to keep proving you belong. And when belonging feels like something you have to earn, you never fully rest inside it. You become someone people can like without ever fully knowing. Not because you are fake, because being fully known has not always felt safe. Some people do not struggle to make friends because they dislike people. They struggle because wanting people has not always felt safe. And when wanting people feels unsafe, the next thing you learn is distance. And when wanting people feels unsafe, the next thing you learn is distance. That distance can look confusing from the outside. Because people who struggle to make friends often want closeness, but behave as if closeness is something they have to protect themselves from. They may stare at a message for too long, wanting to answer honestly, then send the safer version instead. They may feel warmth towards someone, but keep the conversation light because depth would reveal too much. They may start getting attached and then become quieter, as if stepping back early can keep the feeling from becoming dangerous. From the outside, it can look like they do not care, but inside, it may be the opposite. They do not pull away because they feel nothing. They pull away because they have started to feel something. Because the moment you care, someone has power. Their silence can change your mood. Their distance can make you question yourself. So distance becomes protection. If you do not initiate, you cannot be ignored first. If you do not ask to meet, you never have to feel the direct no. If you keep the friendship casual, you never have to discover whether it could have become deeper. This is why some people become hard to reach. Not because they want to push everyone away, but because reaching first once felt too exposed. It makes you edit your enthusiasm before anyone sees it. It makes your softness hide behind humor, distance, or silence. You may type something honest, then delete it before it has a chance to make you visible. Not because the connection does not matter, because it does. And that is the knife. The connection matters enough to hurt. The closer someone gets, the more there is to lose. Their silence becomes louder when you hoped for more. Their uncertainty feels sharper when you had already imagined a place for them in your life. So your mind tries to lower the stakes before the feeling gets too big. It tells you to care less, reach less, need less, and make sure no one can see how much this matters. Over time, this protection can begin to look like your personality. People may call you independent because they cannot see the disappointment underneath your distance. They may call you private because they do not know how many times openness made you feel foolish. They may say you are hard to read, not realizing you learned to hide the parts of yourself that once felt too easy to reject. And after enough moments like that, pulling back can feel safer than reaching. Sometimes people who seem distant are not trying to push others away. They are trying not to feel the pain of reaching first and finding nothing there. But distance has a cost. It protects you from rejection. And slowly, it can also protect you from the connection you wanted in the first place. That is where the next loneliness begins. Not being alone, almost belonging. That is the loneliness distance can create. Not the obvious kind. Not just an empty phone or a quiet room. A quieter kind. The kind that happens when you are close enough to be included, but not close enough to feel chosen. People know you, but not deeply. You are part of the room, but not always part of the bond forming inside it. This is the pain of almost belonging. When you are alone, at least the absence is clear. But when you almost belong, you keep wondering if you are asking for too much. You may be in the group chat, watching a smaller closeness happen somewhere beyond you. You may hear about plans after they happened and feel the quiet message underneath it. No one had to say you were not important. The moment already said enough. Almost belonging rarely gives you a clear wound. It gives you small moments that are too quiet to accuse anyone of, but too sharp to forget. You laugh with everyone, but still feel like if you disappeared, the room would adjust quickly. And that thought can hurt more than anyone realizes. The feeling that your absence would be noticed for a moment, but not deeply felt. No one has to be cruel for this to hurt. That is what makes it so confusing. You cannot point to one moment and say, "This is where they rejected me." Instead, the pain gathers quietly, in delayed replies that feel slightly colder than before, in conversations that stay pleasant but never become intimate, in the slow realization that people may like you without seeming to need you. That kind of almost belonging can make you question your worth in a very quiet way. You start wondering whether other people have a warmth you somehow missed, whether you are too quiet to be remembered, too intense to be easy, or somehow too easy to leave out. And the cruelest part is that you may still be kind, thoughtful, and deeply loyal, someone who would show up with your whole heart if you were truly let in. But friendship does not always reward depth immediately. Sometimes the people who feel the most are the ones who take the longest to feel safe enough to show it. So they become the person others talk to when they need comfort, while still wondering why no one seems to notice their own loneliness. Almost belonging can hurt more than being alone, because it lets you see what closeness looks like, without letting you feel safe inside it. And after a while, you may stop trying to enter fully. Not because you stopped wanting friendship, but because standing near the door felt less painful than knocking again. Maybe you never preferred the distance. Maybe you only got tired of asking the world if there was space for you. And if you have spent a long time wondering whether there is space for you, then your struggle to make friends may not be awkwardness. You may not be cold, boring, or impossible to know. You may simply be someone who learned that connection can hurt when it is not returned with the same care. And when that happens enough times, the heart becomes careful. It does not stop wanting. It just stops reaching so openly. It learns to act casual when something matters and quiet when it wants to ask where it stands. And from the outside, that can look like distance. But inside, it may be a form of grief. The grief of wanting to belong without knowing how to trust belonging when it appears. Maybe you are not avoiding friendship because you do not want people. Maybe you are protecting the part of you that still hopes to be chosen. The part of you that still hopes someone will notice the quiet shift in your mood. That someone will invite you before you have to ask. That your presence will mean something when you enter the room. That part of you is not needy. It is human. Wanting to matter, wanting safe friendship, and wanting to stop feeling one step outside the circle is human. You are not hard to love because you take time to open, and you are not too much because you want to be chosen with care. Maybe you became hard to reach because, at some point, reaching started to hurt. And maybe the sadness you carry around friendship is not proof that something is wrong with you. Maybe it is proof that connection still matters to you more than you admit. People who truly do not care, do not replay conversations, ache while watching others belong, or grieve friendships that almost became safe. But you do. And that means there is still a part of you that has not given up on being known. Not by everyone, not all at once, and not by forcing yourself into rooms that make you feel smaller, but by someone who does not make closeness feel like a test. Someone who does not make you feel like you have to earn your place every time you speak. Someone who lets you be present without performing. And until then, it is understandable that you have protected yourself. You were not avoiding friendship. You were protecting the part of you that still hopes to be chosen. Because maybe you were never hard to love. Maybe you only learned to stay hard to reach. And maybe the person behind that distance is not empty, cold, or difficult. Maybe they are just tired of standing outside rooms they were never sure they were allowed to enter. And if this felt personal, leave a dot in the comments. For more videos that help you understand the hidden emotional patterns behind human behavior, consider subscribing to Cortex Psychology. Because the deepest loneliness is not always having no one. Sometimes it is still hoping someone will notice you are standing just outside the circle. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for being here. At Cortex Psychology, we explore the hidden patterns behind the way you think, feel, and connect. If this video helped you understand yourself a little more, stay with us. You don't have to decode your mind alone. We'll decode it together. See you in the next one.